Well, good morning, all of my Catawba people. I am Beckee Garris, and I will be demonstrating how some of the techniques of how making a pottery. So you start out and make a ball, and what we'll show you first is the pinch method, and that is exactly what it sounds like. You would take your thumb in the middle of the ball of clay, and you will roll it around in the cup or the palm of the opposite hand, and you're just pressing, because this will make a perfect circular form when you do it this way. And you just keep turning it to where the hole is getting bigger. And you'll also feel it where it's getting thinner around the walls. And then you just press it and pack it to where you have your flat bottom. And then you will take your fingers and go around and get the creases out of it that may have formed. And you run your hand or finger on the inside to make the top of the bowl smoother as well and more uniform. And what we would actually do now is, if this is all I wanted to make was a small pinch pot, I would set it aside and let it dry. Now, to make a larger vessel, you would also start out with a small ball of clay. And you just run it around in your hands, and then you make a base for the pot. And these are the little tricks that you can learn. Also, you can roll the clay to make it more uniform. Pat it, pack it down. And depending on how large of a vessel you're going to make, the base will be larger. But for time's sake, to show you how to do it, I'm just going to make a small base. And then this is what they call the coil method. You make coils, or as some of the smaller kids have when they're making, they said they're making snakes, so, which is like the shape of a snake. And then you will come in and press one end down to where it's like this. And then you bring the other side around to where it meets, and almost like making a donut with the hole in it. And then you mash this down to go to the base. And you also do the same thing on the inside. This is securing part of the vessel to the base. And you do this again about on the inside with your thumb and finger to smooth it out to where you can see that you can't see where the coil was to start with. You do the same thing on the outside of your base. This is attaching the base to the starting of the vessel. Some of the potters pre-make their coils, so that all they have to do is just reach over and get it. Once you learn how to do the pottery, you're free to do it either way. You see that this wasn't long enough to go around and meet, so you just keep rolling it between your hands to stretch it so that it will. Once again, whenever you're attaching a coil, make sure you're on the opposite side of where you first attached the first coil. This way you'll make sure that it's uniform and more sturdy. Because if you have it on the same, let's just call it a ridge, if you have it on the same ridge where you're attaching, that makes the whole vessel weaker in that particular spot. And so whenever you're doing the firing process, it's more than likely that you'll have a stress fracture, or what they call a fryer crack in it, because that's the weakest part of the piece. And you still come around and attach the next coil to the same way. And also because it's still malleable, if you want a flatter surface on the bottom, just hit it on a hard surface. And of course, the larger the piece, the larger the base, the longer the coils. Like I say, you just keep building and building and building until it gets to the size that you want and the shape that you want. And I'm also going to show you something else, how you can do this. And it works on the smaller pieces as well. Like I say, just keep going around and around. Stretching it out. And then you take this, or like I say, you can even use a teaspoon or a tablespoon to make a smooth surface. And you attach and make it smoother on the inside to make sure that all the coils are attached. You see where here, and you see there's a little air crack in there where it's not completely sealed. This is when you go around and do this as well. There are many different styles of Catawba pottery, but I will also stress again the importance of using the clay that is dug from a site that the Catawbas have been going to, we know orally, for at least 450 years, if not longer. If you would actually make a piece out of commercial clay that you go to buy, you can sell it as a creation of you, but you can't sell it as a piece of Catawba pottery because it has to be this clay, it has to be this process, and it has to be fired the same way. which would be pit firing and not a kiln, nor can you use potter's wheel to make. And you can always do the top also to make sure that they're all level. And then, if you like, you can add like what they call the fluted rim. And you see, all I'm using is my fingers to pinch that out as well. Now, this one you'll also set aside and let it dry. I hope you've learned a little about how to make the pottery, and once again, like I say, being a potter, emphasis like Catawba potter, is you have free range to make anything you want because it's your piece that you're making. But you still have to stand for the strict standards of the clay, where it comes from, how it's processed, how it's fired. Then you can sell a piece of Catawba pottery. But anyhow, kate, until later.